Man, guys. That was forceful.
Let's read this one. Good evening. It is 5 p.m. The Board of Trustees of LaPorte Independent School District is now convened. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present. Every student's success is our #1 priority. As the LaPorte ISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, adopt policy, approve budgets, contracts, personnel, appointments, and communicate the district's vision and success to the community. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. School board meetings are open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience participation is limited to the patron presentation portion of the meeting. Board members may not respond to the public comment section. These proceedings may be recorded, and I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. Thank you for taking time this evening to join us and for your interest in LaPorte Independent School District. At this time, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Join the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. What I get. That's what you get. I will be leading the invocation, so please bow your head. Well, God, we thank you first and foremost for this opportunity to come together this evening. I thank you, Father, for each and every individual that's represented in this room, for all the ones that are not, all of our teachers, our staff members, our students and parents. But God, as we're wrapping up this summer, I just pray for wisdom and discernment for this board as we go and make decisions on behalf of the district. I pray for every single employee that they just have a blessed rest of the summer and even better year to come here in LaPorte ISD. Father God, we ask just a hedge of protection over every single person in our community, and we thank you for the opportunity to come together tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Go to item number 3, public comments. The board will now hear those who wish to make comments and who have completed and returned the public comment participation request. This section will be conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act and board policy. Complaints and concerns for which other resolution channels are provided shall be directed through those channels. Mr. President, do we have any?
We have none.
All right. Move to item number 4, action and our closed discussion items. Letter A, excuse me. Discussing and consider approval of updates to policy FNCE local.
Good afternoon, board. Dr. Jackson. So just here today to present some information related to policy FNCE local. You guys have a handout. On that handout, just a summary about House Bill 1481. This was a Texas bill that mandates that public schools implement policies prohibiting student use of personal communication devices during the school day, and that includes lunch and passing periods. And so this includes devices, cell phones, smartwatches, earbuds, and tablets. There are some exceptions for documented medical and safety needs, and this bill is a part of a broader effort to reduce distractions and promote a more focused learning environment. And so we've interpreted that and come up with the slogan, "Away for the day, no cell from bell to bell." All devices must either be left at home or secured for the duration of the school day. Some of the steps that we've taken as a district, one, we've researched what our surrounding districts are doing. We didn't want to be the outlier in this implementation of the policy. So we've looked, we've collaborated with other peers and colleagues from across the region and state just to kind of see what their plans were for implementation. We've discussed that interpretation of House Bill 1481 with legal counsel. We have Mr. Gilbert with us here today, and I know he's been a valued partner in helping us propose some changes and updates to policy FNCE. So, Mr. Gilbert, would you have anything to share?
So, what y'all are doing, do you want me to come up? Come on. Yeah. what y'all are doing is pretty consistent with what most school districts are doing. This was not optional for y'all. I mean, you're required to, at a bare minimum, prohibit use during the school day. And that's what y'all are doing. You could have gone an additional step and prohibited kids from even bringing them to school at all and told them they had to stay at home. Y'all didn't do that. I don't know of any school district that is doing that. I'm sure there are some, but I'm working with a number of school districts on implementing this law and changing these policies. And what y'all are doing is pretty consistent with what everybody's doing. So.
Sir. So again, I really appreciate his guidance and wisdom, and especially working with several surrounding districts to give us some policy recommendations for updates. We have a communications plan, and so on your iPad, on that second tab, you should be able to see a unique link. It's not live yet, but should this policy be adopted this evening, then we would be able to mobilize our communications plan. Also have it on the screen for people in the gallery to see. But it has our infographic, way for the day, no cell from bell to bell. There's some research on the site which explains the benefits of prohibiting student devices during the school day. There's also just a quick summary of the proposed updates to the cell phone policy. Starting with, this is in accordance with Texas state law, House Bill 1481. And then there are also frequently asked questions. We anticipate there are going to be a lot of questions asked from parents, staff, community members. So we thought it would be a good idea to have a space for them to access where they could just see those frequently asked questions with some of those answers there. So if this were to be approved, when we're able to go live with this with the community as quickly as we can. So that's there for you guys. Also, we've collaborated with our own district and campus leaders on really what this would look like with implementation. We know this is a change. It's a large change, and so to making sure that we are being fully transparent with our staff and our students, and having a comprehensive plan moving forward. We've had opportunities to discuss in district leadership meetings. I was able to attend a campus meeting at the high school where Dr. Griffin presented the information to his staff. Just, bill summary. This is what it's looking like, having an open conversation with staff, and really good conversations with staff about enforcement and communicating expectations to our students. So I really appreciate them. We also have with us an elementary representative, Ms. Hyde, and Dr. Griffin. If you guys could please come up, and they can speak to a little bit. But really, one of the things we know is that we need to be consistent with our management plan. And so you guys have a copy of that plan. That's not something that is published or outward. This is something for you guys and for our administrators as far as how we would address any infractions or violations to the policy. So I just have Ms. Hyde and Dr. Griffin will speak after her just to talk a little bit about what their role has been in this.
So we had an opportunity to visit as an administrative team collaboratively with secondary as well as just with elementary. We feel like the policy is a good policy, that we have a good plan in place. We were able to really kind of pinpoint where we thought concerns might arise. And at the elementary level, it's pretty much what we've already been doing. We don't allow cell phones out during the school day. It's going to be more of a learning process, so less punitive unless there's an ongoing concern. So our kids just need to be taught that you can't have it out when you're waiting for the bus, and you can't have it out. They don't really take it out at lunch, but and so when we talk, we were able to kind of look at where we might have concerns and address those. I think we feel like the most important piece is going to be that communication piece with our families, and we've got a good plan in place with those frequently asked questions. And so we feel like it's going to go really smoothly at the elementary level. We don't foresee very many concerns at all.
Thank you, guys. So it's going to be a little bit different at the high school than it is at the elementary. I think, any initiative at the high school, consistency is the number one factor that make something happen. And so we wanted to make sure, I called my guiding coalition of teachers up last week, and we talked not only about cell phones, but about some of the construction issues and things we're going to have to work through, procedures we're going to put into place. But I really wanted to hear what they thought, about the cell phone policy and the House bill. And I think the thing that was important for me to relay to them is that if you take all the politics out, you take everything out, if I just asked you, would you rather have your kids not have their cell phones during class or have them during class, 100% of you would say that you would rather them not have them in class. And so why don't we go into this excited about it? We want to be consistent with it. We want to enact it because ultimately it's going to make things better at the high school. I would say that 98% of the discipline that we deal with on a daily basis is directly related to a cell phone. Whether it's kids not following a rule, they're talking about somebody on social media, it all gets back to that one thing. And so if this is something that we can come together as a faculty and really uphold the way that the law is intending, that ultimately it's going to be a good thing. And so I left that meeting with the teachers feeling good about it, feeling good about the plan that we kind of talked through, that this is kind of what we're thinking it's going to be. And so it was a really positive meeting. So we're pretty excited about the direction, and that ultimately at the heart of the law, whether you like the law or you don't like the law, ultimately the result, if it's done properly, is going to be a positive thing for the high school. So.
Thank you. And I just want to reiterate just how appreciative I am for our campus leaders, just to get their input, to meet with their staff, to unpack what does this mean. The questions came up to hear a teacher say, well, what do I do when the student when they don't want to release it to me? Then, what have you always done in that situation? You've contacted an administrator, we've been able to come, and we assist with that. So it's just reminding folks some of the expectations that have always been there, but just making sure that we start the year very strict with enforcement and consistency, and then that's the key. And that's why you don't see a separate plan for elementary and junior high and high school. I mean, it's a consistent plan for all of our campuses across all of the levels. And we really hope that we can communicate those expectations clearly, be consistent with our enforcement, and we feel like this ultimately can be a positive thing, if we stick to those. So I'll open it, I guess, for any questions, but I also wanted you to see the next steps, which you guys have. Again, once approved, we would be able to align our student handbook with the updated policy. That's something that we would need to do. Again, I appreciate Mr. Gilbert's assistance in looking at CASB model handbooks and making sure that we're in alignment with the resources that we have. The communication plan, ongoing discussions and back-to-school trainings with staff, and then clearly communicating those expectations, and then lastly, enforcement, right? Being consistent with our enforcement. So at this time, if you guys have any questions, comments?
And just a comment, I think consistency is going to be our biggest problem. Is you're going to have a teacher, no matter how much you drill it into someone, a teacher at the high school, they may take it up and they may give it back to the student at the end of their period and then move on, and then the next teacher doesn't give it back, and then we have to follow this, because if not, if I'm not picking names, but Lomax Junior High does it and LaPorte Junior High doesn't, everybody's going to find out, because not that we live and die on Facebook, but we don't want to seem inconsistent on Facebook. So I think that's just going to be a big struggle.
Valid point. That's been our overwhelming call to action is with consistency and making sure that we are across all of our campuses, implementing the same way.
I think the key in anything of this magnitude is really is buy-in. One is making sure the messaging is strong enough that everybody really buys in and understands that we've got to remove the emotion from the situation. This is a very objective matter, and the state has laid out the expectation, and we can't get in our feelings about it. And we obviously, there's a lot of concerns about safety concerns, and since Uvalde, a lot of people want to have got it. And I think that LaPorte ISD has positioned itself to lead the pack in terms of giving parents that peace of mind. So I'm hoping that's a big part of our messaging, is that we have things in place that other districts may not have, that should give you some assurance that your child is safe. And I think that's going to be really important. To Mason's point, consistency enforcement is going to be paramount. But I urge everybody, all our stakeholders, to really understand, and it's about how we message it to the kids. as parents, as administrators, as teachers, as everybody, if we're not sold on it, the kids are never going to buy in. They're very impressionable. They're going to take our lead on the matter. So I urge everybody listening that really you've got to understand this is a law. This isn't just a Porte ISD thing. This isn't you're going to take your kid and go to somewhere else. They're going to have the same laws to enforce. And I think that this is just a way of life. And as you get into the professional sector, you're going to have these same rules and regulations. It's going to follow you the rest of your life. So I think our kids are immune from that is I think, a little misstep. So just being consistent in our messaging, I think, is going to be really important. And I urge all of our parents to really take a position of support and understand that the pros, there's so much evidence that these cell phones are detrimental to kids in the learning environment. So that's my takeaway for it.
We weren't allowed to walk around with our pagers.
We're not.
We're making them take off their Apple Watches too and put them in their backpack.
So smartwatches, earbuds, even someone brought up smart glasses, right? You've got those
The glasses that do it, yeah.
So anything that has messaging capabilities, Bluetooth, capabilities, would be something that would be in violation of the policy.
I mentioned this to Walter earlier today in a conversation we were having. One of the hardest things is for a teacher to approach a kiddo with a level head, with the right words. Some teachers are very good at it. Some teachers can do it with a sense of humor, like Miss Lee, and the kids will just, then let me give you all my technology. But it would maybe be helpful if we gave our teachers like a script almost, kind of like you do with, what are you doing? What are you supposed to be doing? Are you doing it? Right. So that teachers have an automatic message, not give me that, because I think that's sometimes teachers don't want, they're almost afraid to confront a kiddo, but if they had a set message, that they could use, like a little script.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great. And that's one of the conversations that took place with the staff. What do we do in that case? And it's, then you don't engage, right? You don't put yourself in that situation where you're being combative with the student. You remind them what the expectations are. If they're in violation, then we contact and we provide additional assistance as needed. We don't want a teacher to be combative or put themselves in a compromising situation over a cell phone.
And at no time are the teachers expected to actually take up the phone, or yes?
So there could be instances where it's released back at the end of the class period,
okay.
Or delivered to the office or the corresponding AP office, and then returned at the end of the school day. Yes.
Wait a second, sorry. So it's being returned back at the end of the class period, or it's given to the principal or the administrative office after the first offense?
So the first offense we have, it's confiscated and documented with the administrative conference. So for the elementary classroom, that could be that it stays with the teacher for the duration of that day, for that class period day, and then returned back to the student. So it'll progress as you go, but there could be instances where it's returned back to the student, correct?
But at the high school,
It's one of the AP offices.
okay, that was my question.
My question on that.
During the first offense.
For the fine.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, that
If
was
you
my
get
question.
30 of those a day, are we going to have it seems like we're going to need to have some kind of formal procedure of like,
Yes.
if I turn in a $2,000 phone.
I'll lock it
Right. And we're talking
Legit
about
cost.
the storage devices that we need for that office so that we can securely store them and have a process for returning those and logging those. Absolutely.
I hate that you guys are having to do with that. I get like this is state. I think hopefully the why behind it is a good thing, and it's a less distraction. But I told Dr. Jackson, in my perfect world, it would have been a little more uniform across all districts. For example, like we can compare it against Deer Park all the time, right or wrong. I looked up today, they have in there, says you are allowed to, this is Deer Park High School, North Campus, you are allowed to use your phone and earbuds during breakfast, lunch, and class change. I found another one, neighboring district says, you may be used during they may be used during transition periods in the hallways and during
They haven't
assigned lunch.
updated their policy yet.
Those may not have been updated yet.
Yeah, they haven't updated.
As Deer Park's attorney, that's probably not what their eventual policy is.
So is it true, like, so that, without getting that's good, then, like, so, I mean, again, if somebody says like, hey, I'm leaving before your policy
Correct.
sucks, so
Yeah, no, they're-
it's gonna be the same in Deer
It's
Park.
been
Bacon.
specific that
Right
it
now, what
can't
does
be
it
during
say?
passing periods and lunches. That was, that was part of the mandate, is that, during the instructional day, which includes the passing period and lunch, that it could not be,
Because I don't think anybody's updated their handbooks yet.
But it's weird because like it has it clearly like the 24, 25 on the Deer Park page, and then this is an updated one because it has fines included that they didn't include last year. So it's kind of, we didn't have a date on it, so it's kind of weird. So,
But I mean, that's what, yeah.
yeah, they say they charge like $5. It's all over all of their social media stuff.
Yeah, so the guidance that we've received is that the fines is not something that's permissible.
Right.
Right.
I mean, and I'll say that we've been talking to a lot, and pretty much everybody is fairly in line with the stepping way that they're doing. Not really heard anybody that's just.
In terms of the progressive discipline.
Yes, progressive. I mean, I've never really heard anybody that's a real outlier.
And understand, like each one of these, there's instances where, we had a conversation, it may be your second violation, but in the course of confiscation, you use some profanity towards a teacher, or there's something else. So it's not going to just
would
be
not
that. So there are instances where, it's not going to follow exactly depending on other
Situation,
circumstances that
yeah.
took place.
Okay, I had several points written down to make sure I talked about it, and I want to thank y'all for your thorough presentation because I got to knock a bunch of things off my list, obviously. But I think my main question right now is around the exceptions to the rule. The exceptions are safety protocols, a documented need or a directive by a physician, but we do have discretion on that. And then if it's part of their IEP or 504. So I think we can anticipate that a lot of parents are going to come up wanting to have an art committee meeting. Here she comes. And, to get devices added to their child's IEP.
Their own device
And
now anyway.
are we prepared for that? What's going to be our stance on that? And what's going to be our stance about the qualified physician directive? How are we going to make sure those are authentic? And then, I'll let you answer that. And then I have a question about number 8 because it's directly in opposition of the new House Bill 6 as far as ISS stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we already have a process in place for a student who has a medical need through a 504 committee. So when it's just like if they request homebound, what we do is we get a physician statement. It can't be it can't be a med spa, or it has to be an actual medical doctor, and we have to see that there's a need. Our district nursing staff communicates directly with the physician. We don't allow the parent to fill it out or have the doctor fill it out. Not that they would do that, you know what I mean? That we ensure that it is filled out by a physician. Our staff calls and communicates with it. Then we don't take everybody's word for it. Even then, we sit and have a committee and decide. And we have either a 504 in our committee and decide, is there truly a medical need for this device? Typically, it's going to be a diabetes monitor. I can't even think off the top of my head right now what another medical need would be that you would need your cell phone. But we would take it as it comes, just like we would a service dog request or a request for homebound or a request for a shortened day. We already have that process in place. And Jennifer Upshaw drew up some forms that I still need to get approved for a procedure, not a process. So a procedure for the district, but so that we have something uniform for all the principals to share. But they'll communicate with my office and we'll handle it if there's a request. We foresee that we will have a few additional requests this year.
Okay.
Can I ask, if a diabetic has his phone, are there going to be different consequences for that diabetic or the kid, someone that's diabetic, if he's caught using playing on his phone, messaging on his phone and stuff? Are there going to be different consequences because you can't take his phone up? How are we going to?
So that's where the discretion of the principal comes in on, and we would be consistent with our discipline, because we don't want to be treating this student differently than we would. So we would be able to administer discipline appropriately and in line with
similar infractions. But, we'd have to take into consideration that phone is needed for whatever
Absolutely.
documented purpose was.
Sure.
Good question.
Because you're going to get a lot of that.
Yeah, that's true. Safety protocol. What is our...
So, there could be a situation where if there are, now are you asking on when that would be approved because of a safety need? Is that like what is it? So I'm just leaving that if there was a situation where, And it could be a range of
Could be a
situations.
shelter in place. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a
so
lot of things it could
There
be.
could be other things that give us opportunities where we would allow contact with the family if it's related to a safety matter.
And
Just use common sense and discretion.
And the principal, I'm sorry, and the principal certainly would have the discretion of that, and we would certainly be in touch with them. But the other part of that, and Trustee Hanks mentioned it earlier today, that I haven't had a chance to share, we're going to have to do a better job of making certain that our parents understand. We have this new system, Centegics, and all of this, where we can press buttons and get all of the support that we need should there be a need for additional police, a need for additional whatever. And so while the child may not be able to do that, there's always adults that are going to be around that are wearing those on their person.
Yeah, maybe we need to do a
And
video
so-
about that.
So
or
we
something.
will make certain that our messaging will talk. We spent, you allocated a lot of funding for that to happen, and so this is a great opportunity for us to share. Here's another way that we can make certain that we're communicating, and your children are never going to be without
safe.
somebody helping them remain safe while on our campuses. Okay.
Okay, number 8 on the discipline plan. The new House Bill 6, which is relative to ISS, right? Allowing us to have students in ISS more than 3 days, up to 10 days. And we have to review it at 10. A special education child, we would have to have a manifestation determination by 10 days. So I think we're placing ourselves with a lot of administrative work by putting 15 on number 8.
Yeah.
By putting 15 days.
Yeah. You want to talk about
This is
that?
This is DAEP. But
So
go ahead, Bill.
if the student is not receiving their services for more than 10 days across the span of the school year, then we would need to do an MDR. But in LaPorte, we push our case managers into ISS to make sure that they get their needs met. Now, of course, we do not want students in ISS,
Right.
any students, for more than 10 days. However, sometimes there's a need for that. We push in, on every campus, we push into ISS to make sure that kids have all of their needs met when they're in there, so.
Yeah, and maybe HB6 specifically has a different verbiage for DAEP than they do for ISS. I
For
don't know.
DAEP, don't you have to do an MDR
For
regardless
DAP, we
of the
do.
number
I
of
thought you were
days?
asking about ISS. Yes, of course, we always have.
Because that's a
an
removal.
It wouldn't matter.
It's a removal,
That's a
yes,
removal.
of
5
course.
days
And
or
they do,
15.
but they do get their services at DAP as well. We have special ed staff.
Okay.
And then, not that it would hopefully never happen, but if you get to step 8 and it happens at 9th time, do you just repeat step 8? I mean, I'm just curious, but
Well, bottom line is, after the second one, parents are going to have to come visit with somebody to talk about this. And I would imagine a parent is going to get fed up with this and have some strong conversations. I know my parents would have.
well, if we've learned anything,
within-
that some parents just parent a little
I
differently
agree,
than most. Yeah.
I agree. But to get that phone back, a child is going to have to get a parent or guardian to get up there, and
Yeah.
that's gonna take
On
some
the
work
second
on the
offense,
students
yeah.
of count. And so I'm not saying we have an answer for that, but it's going to be something that the child has to determine whether or not they want to keep going down this road to do that. So hopefully we don't have to get to 7 or 8. And we might, and we'll have to figure out how to deal with that.
Yeah.
But our ultimate goal is to do what Ms. Hyde said earlier, and Dr. Griffin. We've got to begin this process by teaching, modeling, right? And then teaching and modeling and teaching and modeling and communicating. And I think that cycle is going to happen not just for August, not just for September. It's going to have to be something that we do every day and every month, for the entire school year. And it will eventually become part of the culture, but it's going to take some time, and it's going to be a lot of work on all of us. Because let's just face it,
a big
Dr. Griffin's got 2,200 kids on that campus. He's got 6 administrators, right? So teachers and administrators alone are outnumbered in how many kids can have that happen.
Yeah.
So we've got to teach the expectation, model it, communicate it with everybody, and start that cycle over every day. And we're going to do everything in our power to help you and all principals do that, and be as consistent as we possibly and humanly can be.
in this process, because we're going to be challenged. I said to several board members as I've spoken with you out throughout the weeks about just this process. The youngster today just feel like this phone is part of their soul. They feel like it's part of their personages. And so when you're threatened with this phone is going to go away, all logic ceases to exist. And so we don't want that, and we certainly don't want adults overreacting in that process. So just like we're going to have to teach and model for those youngsters, we're going to have to teach and model and support our teachers, because it's going to be a lot of work on everybody's part. And so you have our word that we're going to do the absolute best we can.
And I'm sure this is in the works, but we'll be talking about this at every back-to-school event, here comes the 7th graders at LPJ or Lomax, and here comes the 8th graders.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've talked about that, the advisory times, the morning announcements, the constant messaging, signage that we're going to provide campuses.
Good.
So this will be
a big rollout.
You will hear a wave for the day multiple times.
Trustee Thompson, this sadly will be at least a snippet in my address on convocation, because you've got the entire school district there. I mean, nobody is going to be able to say, I didn't know that, right? Right? So we're going to work really hard. We're going to use video delivery. We're going to use social media as best we can. But ultimately, and we're a tight-knit family in this community. We need our parents to support us in this process.
Absolutely.
I think several of you have already said we believe the intent of the law is with good intentions, and so we've got to embrace it in that way. We need our parents to help us with this. All right. I think this is one that came from Austin, that people really have good intentions for our school districts with this, and so we want to embrace it and be positive about it. But we're absolutely going to need to partner with the parents of this school district to help us, and not that it's an antagonizing relationship about a phone.
They say that great things require great effort, and this is going to be one of those things for sure. But I think it's an opportunity also to really separate ourselves again in just one more facet. I think that it's an opportunity, if we can get the total buy-in, that the district will see the fruits of the labor. They will see it will pay huge dividends. I apologize. I've been trying to pull up I had some notes about it, but if you really dive into the subject, the statistics are scary, but they also help the narrative. And I heard this one part that talks about the coping mechanisms of adolescence and the cognitive development, and that we've got age restrictions on smoking, gambling, and drinking. And the dopamine release is so addictive in each of those behaviors, and yet the same dopamine release with cell phone usage, and there's no age restriction on that. And it's highly addictive. It's corrupted, our youth. It really has. And I think this is an opportunity. It's going to be painful. You're going to have kids go through withdrawals, just like they would in any other habit. So it's going to be tough, but again, I think that I think this board will support the teachers, the administration, and doing what you do. I hate that we have to get to this level, but again, it's a state law, so
it is what
it is what it is. So we've got to meet it head on. We're not going to shy away from it. And that's my 2 cents.
Okay, one more question from a teacher. Once a personal electronic device is approved for instructional use, how will we let teachers know and staff know if the device is approved or not? Will it be indicated in Skyward, or will we receive a live document? Otherwise, I see it as an issue of students saying it's been approved when it has not.
Just at the high school, we're one of the ones that there are no other approved devices.
I was going to say, just from my personal experience, my son has used an iPad for communication, and he could not use his personal iPad. He had to use a district's iPad. So there's so in a situation like that.
To a device for instruction.
Well, they're probably just reading the law where it says that it could be approved. Right. Okay, good.
It would be 504 paperwork, right, or something like that the teacher would get, wouldn't it?
I think sure.
Yeah.
I know we need to take a motion for this. I want one more quick comment for public record. So again, we've mentioned several times this is mandated by the state. We do have some leeway on how we implement these policies and put them in place. And so I want to commend Dr. Jackson and the team, you guys that came into place, because public want to say we are we've erred on the lenient side. So it's very the big deal that we're allowing them to bring their phones and keep them in their backpacks, and so they will have in an emergency. Their babies will have access to these phones if there is an emergency, and that is a big deal. So I commend you guys on that. Talking to Dr. Jackson and his team, I know that we understand it's going to put a little bit of extra burden on our staff, and it's going to be chaos implementing things for the first time. And so, but again, I know you guys have taken a lot of effort to try to mitigate that and minimize that impact as much as possible. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I have faith that as things come up, we can adapt. And again, we'll be most importantly, we'll be praying for you guys. And we're asking I want to publicly ask for grace from the parents. Again, public safety is the number one thing. And number two, we want to educate your kids and give them all an equal learning environment. And so we uniformly agree that these cell phones are a distraction, right? And so again, this won't be perfect, and it's going to be hard the first year, but we thank you guys for rolling with the punches and putting the best plan possible. So with that, I seek a motion to approve.
Second.
Trustee Hanks for motion, Trustee Perez second. Please vote. Motion approves unanimously. Thank you, guys. All right. We move on to B, discuss and consider taking action on whether to allow non-enrolled students the opportunity to participate in UIL activities.
So, Board, also in your packet there, you have an explanation of just Senate Bill 401 and a policy suggestion update for FM local. And so this has to do with the participation of non-enrolled students in UIL activities. If you recall last year, ISDs could opt in to whether or not they allowed non-enrolled student participation. This year, the change in the law with Senate Bill 401, ISDs shall provide non-enrolled student participation unless the school board votes to opt out of allowing non-enrolled student participation. So you see the difference in how that law changed just from 1 year. So that's what you have before you, and I know that's the agenda item that you guys will discuss today.
Well, I'll just say, everybody's looking at me. The part of educational athletics is the responsibility and of getting your work done and having those extra responsibilities, being a leader in the classroom and in the hallways, being an ambassador for your school. You're representing the school and your community, and you can't do that if you're hidden away the whole time, in my opinion. I think that it's a full-time job, and you sign a contract, whether it's virtual or not. You sign a contract to represent your school in the best manner possible, and to do that, you've got to be present. And that's my 2 cents. Is I think that our athletes need to be on campus. I don't think that it's fair to those that do to have someone that isn't taking on the same responsibilities and taking on that role. So that's my 2 cents.
You know, I'm with you on that. I mean, there's not much to discuss. Either you're going to do it or not going to do it, and I'm for not doing it. I mean,
Yeah,
simple.
I think we should opt out as well. I just feel like as a parent, if you want your child to be able to do those extracurricular things, whether it's debate or theater or sports or whatever it is, then you need to come be part of the Bulldog family. So that's my opinion.
Extracurricular for a reason.
Extra.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you will have some parents that will argue that they are being educated at home. I mean, we understand that. But at the same time, I feel like the important part of being part of a team, whether it's debate or theater or whatever, is that you are showing up every day with your teammates all day long at school. And like you said, Danny, you're an ambassador. There's a lot more to being a participant in sports and extracurricular activities than just showing up for practice and playing the games or performing or whatever. It's a full-time job. So it's a student athlete or a student participant, whatever. So, and I mean, this is going to sound crazy, but you know, if you have a whole bunch of homeschool students decide to do this, who pays for that extra coach? Because we don't get the
Yeah.
daily rate for them. So,
Yeah, true.
you know, it's also, could also be a budgetary issue as time moves forward. So,
That's where my mind was too, Karen, is we get paid on average daily attendance. If they're not attending our school, we're not getting paid to have these kids be a part of these programs. If they get hurt, I'm sure there's liability and insurance and other issues. And so, and again, so I'm with you guys 100%. I believe we had a good plan in place of not allowing this in the past, and so I'm not in favor of changing that.
Okay.
Any more comments? If not, I seek a motion.
I make a motion that we opt out of SB 401 FM local to not allow non-enrolled student participation.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Move on to item C, discuss and consider approval of sound system renovations for Porte ISD Theater.
So this is exciting to be able to present this to you all. You know that we have been working behind the scenes to discuss the renovation for the Sonia Angelo Theater. And so that's involved just a comprehensive analysis and assessment of our sound, of the lighting, of the things like the rigging inspection, just all the safety aspects that we need to bring up to speed. And so we are going to begin in phases of the theater renovation. One of the phases we feel like we can accomplish is sound, and we feel like we can get this done, or at least be to substantial completion, so that we can proceed with the musical in the timelines that were given to us by our theater directors and staff. We feel like we can accomplish this sound project, which it really is in need of some enhancements and upgrades.
Yeah, it's
and
been
so
a while.
you have the quote. That's not something that we would just contract to anyone. We have some experts and specialty companies that can deliver the product. And so the group that you have before you is Texas Sound, formerly Southwest Building Systems. They've got over 40 years of experience in AV work. We've used them on some other projects within the district, so there's compatibility with our systems and familiarity with operations of the equipment. And so we feel like this is a step in the right direction, getting the sound system overhauled in the Sonia Angelo Theater. Next steps, will involve several other projects, but just to get going with, the sound, this will allow us to hopefully get the majority of that work, and they know our timelines with our expectations for musical, and so we feel like we can accomplish this within that timeline.
Good.
I only had one question, and it says warranty included, and then it says the company's labor warranties at 1 year. Is there any, and it says other warranty applies with a little checkbox. Is the equipment warranted?
So there are, and different equipments carry different warranties, if that makes sense. So speakers, microphone, so there are different warranties that apply to the different components. So we would, there's not anything that extends that, but again, that's the benefit of working with a company that we have familiarity and that they're able to answer our phone when we need them, in which they've done on other projects that we've done. Absolutely. So, it's not like for each component would carry that same warranty, but it would almost vary by.
I just worried that I don't know how much we're spending. I know, but $356,000 worth of equipment. I didn't know if 3 speakers ended up being $100,000. Well, one speaker breaks, and then we're in big trouble.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay.
If I may say to the board, these companies,
I know, but 356.
whether they're architectural companies or sound companies, the folks that do these big jobs for us, they absolutely survive on our word of mouth and our ability to call other school districts and say they did a phenomenal job for us. These folks don't want to do that to us. Okay? So if something were to happen, I guarantee you we're going to be taken very good care of. All right? I can't answer the warranty question, but they're not going anywhere is what I'm saying. They would be back to support us in any way.
99%, the way I understand it, because I did dig and follow up, is like if you look like some of the amps or whatever, those may have a 3-year warranty. Speakers may have a 5. Each line item really could carry its own warranty for that component. Like the cables, I don't think we'll ever have to worry about cables ever again, but each of those things. And I will say that we have some exceptionally talented people within the district that have looked this over with a fine-tooth comb and have been very, very involved. And they assured me that everything that we need as a district is on here and included, and we'll be very proud of where it's at.
My only concern is that knowing you associate sound and lighting together, is there a reason we can't do the lighting? Because like we have to rent lighting and sound every year.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Sometimes they are lumped together. With this project, there are certain systems that need to be inspected. So like rigging and lighting go hand in hand. And so we received a rigging inspection last Friday. And so and then the lighting, it's a little bit more detailed, and so we did not feel like the timeline, we could get all of that completed prior to musical, and so that was another reason why we had to separate. And then also, because there are so few companies that specialize in these areas, even for them to take on projects within our timeline, that was a challenge. So we did, our goal was to see progress and get progress going quickly for the musical. And so we felt like the sound is something that we can deliver, and that lighting, knowing that that's going to come later, but that's one of the reasons why that's separated.
What would be the, how many additional phases would you see after the?
So, really we'll be able to do some things, cosmetic, so foyer upgrades, the electrical, we'll be able to do some things in the foyer. The full lighting, that would be a phase. Stage refinishing, I feel like there could be a possibility where we could get that done prior to, so really our idea going into it was safety, looking at all of our inspection or our rail systems and bringing those up to speed. There's some substantial work we got to do to the pit, just kind of some safety modifications there. So kind of the phase one was just safety and inspections. Phase two, we start getting actually to sound, and lighting. We just had to push the lighting piece. So I feel like by this time next year, we should be in a very good place with fully renovation of our theater.
And we'll pick back up in the spring.
Absolutely. As soon as, And that's just a challenge. Again, with scheduling, a lot of these companies, they schedule almost a year out. And so, we pulled some favors, even being able to get the rigging inspection to be here. Texas Scenic is a company that came and did that for us. So getting them here when they did was only because they had a cancellation. And so they were able to come and help us there.
We can go one more year.
No, it's going to be great.
One more season.
We are very excited, and we know what this means to the community, and excited about that.
That's exciting.
Any more discussion? If not, I seek a motion.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, board. And if there's nothing else to discuss, that's a quick meeting. We will